Da, pускай. Okay. Hello, everybody. Hello. Yeah. Well, hello on Facebook. Welcome, Facebook audience. Let's welcome them. Let's clap for them. Yes, so we are continuing our series on the truth. Why do people reject the truth? Why is it that people reject the truth? So we're going to continue our classes. And the kids, today we are talking about why people reject the truth. And the reason why people reject the truth that we're going to be discussing today is because they do not understand the truth that you are presenting to them, or the evidence or the proof that you are using to present the truth to them. So in either of the situation, people often reject the truth because they do not understand. And that is understandable. It's not always easy to understand what is taught to us for the first time, from the first time. So we could as well anticipate that there will be times when you as Christians or you as young people will present the truth about anything. You will talk to people about the truth, and you know it is the truth. And you are surprised. Why can they reject it? Why are people rejecting this? And the only reason why they are rejecting it is because that truth you are presenting to them, or the way you are presenting it to them, or the proofs that you are using to argument your case, to argue your case to them, might not be convincing enough for them. So people will likely reject it, not because what you are saying is not true, not because the truth is not the truth, but mainly because they do not understand. Now, I've given you many reasons why people reject the truth. This is another reason. People reject the truth because they don't understand, So what do you need to do in order for people to understand? In the case of Jesus, let me see a passage. How many of you remember the parable of the sower? The parable, when Jesus was talking the parable of the sower, that the sower went to sow, and some fell on good soil, some on bad soil, some on, you remember? Come tell us about the parable. Joy is ready as usual. She's going to tell us about the parable. Do you have microphone? Microphone.
So the farmer was planting one day, and then there was this seed. So the seed is the word of God, and the ground it went on is the hearts of men. So the seed, the farmer was planting one day, and then a seed went on good soil. One went on thorns. Another one went on the pavement side, and the fourth one went on rocky.
Well,
went on rocky roads.
Rocky, yeah.
And
And then the good ground.
yeah. And it was explaining how like Jesus was explaining how the hearts of men and like the word of God. So, but the rocky soil is really bad. The good soil is like that you let the word of God into your heart and you let it grow.
What a miracle child. How did you know all these things?
Because in my school.
It's like you remember everything anybody tells you. You don't forget stuff?
Not really.
Not really. Very good. Good job. Good job. Okay, who wants to compliment that story that Joy just told us, please?
Like explain the story.
Yeah, please.
So basically what happened is the farmer was planting
Can you
seeds.
speak louder a little bit?
What happened was the farmer was planting seeds,
Yes.
and what happened is some of them fell on the rocky road, some of them fell on the good soil, and some of them fell on the thorns. The ones that fell on the good soil are the ones that heard the word and applied it to their lives, and the ones that fell on the rocky soil is the ones that heard the word, and they let it come out through the other ear, and they didn't do anything about it. The seeds that fell on the thorns is the people that didn't hear the word or receive it.
Very good. So you know the meaning as well, eh? Okay. But there is another detail I want to talk about this parable. After Jesus finished telling the story about the parable, his disciples called him together and they came to him and told him that, will you explain the parable to us? Like, we don't understand this parable. And so to which Jesus answered and said, and he said to them, do you not understand this parable? How then will you understand all parables? Now, in that one verse, Jesus used one word twice. In one sentence, Jesus used one word twice. Who noticed? What was that word?
Parable.
Parable? No, he used parable twice. Really? There's another word he used twice in that word. Okay? In that sentence.
Understand.
Understand. He used the word understand twice. He said, do you mean you don't understand this parable? If you do not understand this parable, how will you, maybe it's actually 2 or 3 times, how will you understand other parables? So parables also is 2 times. Yeah, you're right. But the word I'm talking about is the word understand. If you don't understand this parable now, how will you understand other parables? So the word is understand. Why is Jesus particular about understanding? Jesus is so particular about understanding. The only thing he's concerned about is one word, understand, understanding. He's only particular about that. These people need to understand what is happening. Why is Jesus very concerned about people understanding like this? And in other places, Jesus will come to them and say that you of little faith, don't you understand? I've been with you all this while. Why can't you understand? Jesus is always talking about understanding. In some other cases, he will tell them something like, he that has ear, let him hear what the Spirit of God is saying. He will say things like, verily, verily, I say unto you. Then, tell them the parable. Why is he emphasizing? Jesus is always emphasizing ears, eyes, and understanding. Those are very important components, very important words, because they are very important because Jesus knows that there is nothing more important than understanding when it comes to teaching. Understanding is the most important element of teaching. So that's what I'm saying as well, that when you are trying to communicate to people any truth, understanding is the key to communicate truth to people. So whenever you are talking to anybody about truth, don't rush to go talk to people about truth until you work on yourself, on your communication style, and on your communication skills. You need to, first of all, listen to yourself many, many times to make sure that you make it easy. So, for example, whenever you want to communicate any truth or publicly to anybody, sit down in your solitude, repeat that truth to yourself the first time. Maybe you like it. But go back, think about it again and say, how can I make it even better or even easier for people to understand? Once you have come out with easier method, you've added one or two other truths, then repeat it to yourself again with those additional helps that you have added. Once you have done that, think about, is there any way I could still make this even better? Maybe you want to add stories now. Maybe you want to add quotations. Maybe you want to add illustrations. Maybe you want to add statistics. Maybe you want to add figures. Maybe you want to add references. Maybe you want to add inferences. Then repeat it to yourself again with those other helps. Then choose the one of them that is easiest for you to understand and for others to understand. Before you now know that your sermon or your truth or your word that you want to communicate is ready. It has to be ready, and you have to repeat it to yourself many, many times so that by the time you go out to talk to anybody about it, you are not forgetting anything, and you are having the best variant, the best version, and the most perfect variation of your truth. So when people don't understand the truth that you are communicating to them, it is not always their fault. That is the point I'm trying to make. It is not always the fault of the people that are listening to you. Because if they don't understand what your truth, they will reject your truth. And the reason they will reject your truth is because they do not understand. And if they do not understand, they are not the only ones to blame for it. Sometimes you are to blame for it. Because when they do not understand, it's not their fault. When they don't understand like that, it means that you did not do your job well as well. You didn't do a good job. So, in order for you not to be guilty of them not understanding, in order for you not to be blamed for their lack of understanding, what do? You make sure that you work on yourself and you rehearse the truth that you want to communicate to people the best possible way, to yourself, in your closest, by yourself, and when you are most satisfied, then you go out and talk to people. Maybe you would even like to repeat it until you could repeat it to them and talk to them offhand without reading it and just from memory. But the idea is not to just be able to talk from memory, but the idea is to be able to talk in a way that anybody will understand. Have you ever noticed some people that when they talk, they speak so many big grammar and so many big vocabulary that at the end of the day, you just look at them and say, wow, he's so smart. By the time it's finished, you look at them and shake your head and say, I will never be able to be like this. Well, that is a bad communicator right there. Because he has been the only one that has gotten the credit, but you didn't understand anything. But if he's a good communicator, even the simplest person there will understand. Or the smallest child there will understand. Even if you are the smallest person there, you should understand what the person is talking about. But if you don't understand, it's not a good communication. So good communication is, don't worry about it, don't worry. So that you will not be the one to cry today. No danger, it doesn't hurt. So the good communicator is the one that is able to communicate that everybody at the end of the day says, wow, it is so clear that even a child will understand. That is good communication. Don't ever be under the pressure of trying to impress with your knowledge. When you begin to try to impress with your knowledge, you could do a good job with that. People will clap for you and say, wow, he's so smart. But at the end of the day, they go out and they don't remember anything. So don't try to impress people. Also, don't come to talk to people trying to speak to them all the big grammars that you just learned the last time you studied. Don't try to come out speaking big grammar. Even if you happen to speak big grammar, break it down until everybody understands. So, understanding is key. The goal of your talking to people is for them to understand. So how do you know they understand? People understand when they can implement what you have taught them. The purpose of understanding is to implement, is to perform, is to do what you have taught them. So if the people are saying they understand and they are only able to repeat, then they didn't understand. People only understand when they are able to do as well. So that's why Jesus is very particular about understanding. Now, so Jesus decided to break that parable down to his disciple. And you will see a big difference. If you read that parable, you will see the way Jesus brought understanding to his disciples. So let's read it. In Mark chapter 4, verses 13 downward. And he said to them, do you not understand this parable? How then will you understand all the parables? So, of course, he was surprised that they didn't understand. So what did he do? Did he just get annoyed and turn his back and left? No. When people don't understand, it means it's not just their fault, it's my responsibility to do a better job. So instead of Jesus just turning and saying, you are too dull, I'm leaving, he knew what to do and he did better. And what he did is he started all over again. Now that he started, he was not just telling them the parable, he was explaining every point and every part of the parable. So he says, the sower sows the word. Before he had said the sower went to sow the seed. But now he explained to them that the seed is the word. So he's giving them exact meaning of everything he meant. So that is to bring understanding. So now they know, okay, I don't have to be a farmer. Each time I hear the word, it's the same thing. It could either be in good soil, bad soil, and all that. So he keeps on saying, and these are the ones by the wayside where the word is sown. So the seed that falls by the wayside, he said, when they hear, Satan comes immediately and takes away the word that was sown in their hearts. Wayside. What is wayside? Wayside means on the way. It did not get to destination. Wayside is talking about, when you are going somewhere, the way is for you to take you to your destination. The purpose of a road is destination. But if the thing stops at the roadside, where is the purpose? Where is the destination? It means it didn't get to destination. And Jesus explains to us here, why is it that a seed will fall by the roadside? He said it's because Satan comes immediately and takes away the word that was sown in their heart. Each time you forget a message or a word or a truth that is given to you and you don't even remember it, you don't remember to meditate upon it, that is roadside. It means Satan is after. Satan is to blame. Satan is after that word and he has just stolen it away from you. So roadside is the word that does not get to the destination. The destination is that it has to get to your heart. It has to get to your mind where you are going to process it, think about it until it gets to your heart. And from your heart, it's become your understanding. And from there, you could begin to practice it. But when you don't even remember anymore, that means that word has fallen by the roadside. So, next one, it says, this likewise, that's the second seed. He said, this likewise are the ones sown on the stony ground. That is the second seed. They fall on the stony ground. When they hear the word, immediately receive it with gladness. So they receive it with gladness initially, and they have no root in themselves, and so endure only for a time. Afterward, when tribulation and persecution arises for the word's sake, immediately they stumble. So it means the word this time did not fall by the roadside. It actually got to the destination. So the word actually got to the mind of the person or to the heart of the person. But because it didn't succeed in taking root. It didn't succeed in taking root. It was lying on the surface because there was stone on the ground. So there was no root there. And because of that, the word also was there only for a short time. And trials and tribulations, because it was lying on the surface, went and removed it, and the person loses the word, or loses the truth. Then the one that falls on the thorns, among the thorns, they are the ones who hear the word, and the cares of this word, because thorns are things that are ready to shock it. So those are the cares of this word, deceitfulness of riches, and desires for other things entering in, they shock in the word, and it becomes unfruitful. So there are three things that make people to lack understanding. Three things that make people not to hear or to receive the truth that you are speaking to them. Three things that fight against people's understanding. One, Satan is the one that comes to take what is on the roadside. Second, shallow-mindedness. Shallow-mindedness, because it's a stony place, there is shallow-minded, it's not deep. It didn't go deep. Shallow-mindedness. Number three, trials, persecutions, No, sorry. That is, the third one is deception of the word. The deceitfulness of riches, desires for things, and worldliness. Yeah, so the deception of the word, carelessness and frivolities of the word. And of course, you have persecutions and trials. So we could say four main things that stand on the way of people getting understanding. That's Satan, number one. Number two, shallow-mindedness. Number three, persecutions and trials. Number four, deceitfulness of riches, the world, desires for things, frivolities of life, vanities of life. So those four things hinder people from understanding. Now, how does that work? How does Satan work? The roadside. The roadside, he didn't get to destination. So let's say we are talking right now, kids. Hello? How does Satan, what is Satan's strategy? Satan doesn't come physically, but it makes the word not to get to the destination, to stop at the roadside. That means when you are hearing the word, Satan tries to distract you one way or the other. Maybe you are sitting right here, but you are already thinking, oh, I'm going home tomorrow. Thank God, I'm going home tomorrow. So you are thinking about home, my friends. Okay, where are they now? Are they back from Africa? Are they back from holidays? Okay, yeah. That one is back. That one is not back. That's what Satan does. Satan makes you to be distracted so that the word is stolen. The word is coming to you, but it's being stolen immediately from you. It's not getting to the destination. That's how Satan works. So how do you overcome that? To bring understanding. For you to have understanding, there is no way you are going to have understanding if the word is stolen, if you have forgotten what you just heard. So, and when you are communicating the truth to people also, make sure you work on this. Don't allow distractions to steal the truth from people. There is one thing that I teach, one concept that I teach. I don't know, I will not be teaching you about it, but I will just mention it. For Satan not to usurp the truth and take over and hijack the truth that you are speaking, you need to teach people to be in the here and now. But since you are young and you are teenagers yourself, for Satan not to be able to steal the truth that is being communicated to you, repeat this word after me. Be in the here and now. You've got to learn to be in the here and now. That's one of the greatest things you could learn. What does it mean to be in the here and now? To be in the here and now means that you are not playing with your smartphone while the truth and instruction is coming out to you. To be in the here and now, you are not thinking about any other thing out of what you are hearing right now. To be in the here and now, you are not bothering about the flies and the butterflies and the bees like yesterday. When you begin to bother about the flies, it means you have no more joy. That's exactly what I'm saying. You saw the fly, it flew to your place? Yes? Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. So don't pay attention to the flies. If you don't pay attention to the flies, then Satan is not going to be able to steal it away from you. But when you are distracted like that, that's what Satan wants. He wants you to be distracted from the truth. So that is the roadside. That means that the truth has fallen by the roadside. And sometimes, hello kids, when the teachers are talking to you, you are somewhere else at home. on the way or with your friends, in your mind, even though your body is here. Does that happen sometimes? Yes. Yeah, that's exactly the work of Satan there. That's what it means by it being stolen on the roadside. Satan comes to steal it on the roadside before it gets to a place where you could meditate upon it, before it gets to your to settles in your heart, where you could think about it, where you could process it and try to go and implement it. Satan makes you to lose it immediately. Satan steals the word from you from even getting to the destination of your heart. Roadside always comes through distractions. When you are being distracted, you are not in the here and now, Satan takes over and steals the truth and the word from you. Okay. Now, concerning those people who are watching right now, regarding those people who are watching this program on Facebook, that happens a lot when you are doing Facebook, when you are watching Facebook messages. Because while you are watching the Facebook message, you are cooking, or you are dressing, or you are doing many other things. And that's exactly what Satan likes. Satan steals away the word by not letting it get to the destination, by making it fall by the roadside. That is called by the roadside because you live in that illusion. And the illusion makes you to feel as if you are hearing, but really you are not, it's not settling. You are hearing somehow, but it's by the roadside. You are hearing enough just to deceive yourself and others that you are here and make a few comments. Even the comments themselves could be a roadside distraction that Satan could employ. It could make you to be writing comments all the time, whereby you are not having, the goal is for you not to be able to process the word, so that the truth doesn't get to the destination where it is well processed, and then you could do it. So any kind of distraction is the roadside that Jesus is talking about. That Satan is the master of roadside, trying to distract you and making the seed fall by the roadside. Then the second reason why people don't understand the truth is because of shallow-mindedness. Because it says the seed fell on the stony ground where it did not have roots. Because if there is stony ground there, it means there is no roots. There is no way for it to go down. So the seed is not going down. That means when you hear the word, and the word is, you don't have the time for it to sink. You don't have the opportunity. You didn't give it enough chance for it to sink into you. That is stony ground right there. That is shallow-mindedness. So you could hear the word, but you don't let it sink. It's shallow. It's laying on the surface. It's shallow attitude to the word, shallow understanding of the word, shallow mindedness, surface attitude or surface reception of the truth will not make you to understand it. And if you don't understand it, you'll never be able to implement it. So how do you overcome the shallowness of truth, of the word that you are hearing? Whenever you hear any word, even if you are in the here and now and you hear very well, that word gets into the destination. But if you don't go back to the word and reverse it to yourself and rehearse it, if you don't go to rehearse the word, if you don't go to make the word sink, it will still be lost. So how do you do that? Let me illustrate that to you somehow. It talks about the seed falling on a stony ground. How do you make a stony ground? How do you make a seed to sink in a stony ground? Almost impossible. So anytime we receive the word like that, it doesn't matter how attentive you receive it. It is still on stony ground. Because stone means there have been some foundations, some other knowledge that were in you before that new knowledge came. So those other knowledge that were in you, they are keeping the seed floating. They are keeping the seed floating on the surface. So what do you, because it's a stony ground. It's shallow. It's on the surface. So how do you make any information that you get to sink down into you? How do you make this seed that is lying on the surface to take root? How do you do that? You only make it take root by going back to that place where the seed fell and walking on that ground. So every time you hear the word or the teaching, you must. That's why they give you home assignments or homeworks. The concept is for you to go and spend more time on what you've just heard and on yourself, so that that could really become understanding to you. The way you do it when it's ground is, it's a stony ground. You must take a cutlass or a tool and then, or a hoe. Then you go and first of all remove the stones from the stony ground. Because beneath every stony ground is a soil. Underneath every stony ground is a soil. So you must, it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of work, but you have to take your time, patience, go back and remove the stone, and then when you get to the soil, you now let the seed enter to the soil so it doesn't remain on the surface. Now that is that is for farmers. But for us, how does that apply to you? Each time you hear anything in the class or in the school or anywhere, what you need to do is that you need to go back to that class, to the audio message or to the video message, and begin to listen again. So when you are listening again, you stop it and you meditate upon what you are hearing. And you ask yourself questions. How does this apply? How can I use this? Oh, I got it now. Then you are removing the stones that were already in you before the truth came. They are the stony ground, the ground that you had before that word came. You are cultivating it by listening over and over and asking yourself questions. You are cultivating you are giving room in your heart and in your soul to it. You are making your heart softer. You are making your mind softer to accept it and to know how to apply it. You are cultivating yourself. You are making the word become flesh in you. You are making it go from the surface, head knowledge, into your heart to become part of you. That is what we call the word becoming flesh. So that word becomes a part of you. The word becomes flesh in you. And then it brings results. That is what you do to make the word become understanding, where you can now apply it. Yep. So the fact that the seed fell on a stony ground is not a tragedy. It's going to be a tragedy if the hearer does not take his time and patience to go and walk the ground. If you hear the word, doesn't matter how much word you hear. If you don't always take time, if you don't have the culture of going back to that word and listen again, it's just a waste of time. Just like you now, you've all come here. If you come here the way you are here right now, you hear all these messages, you wrote the exams, you are very happy about it. But if you don't ever go back to listen to the recordings, and I'm sure they're going to give you all the recordings, if you don't go to listen to them again and again, at least one time, to go and meditate over it and repeat it to yourself, it's as good as you've never been here. That thing will lie in you for a week or two. You see, the seed, he said, it will lie on the surface for some time, but for a short time. Then it disappears again. Because it did not get a root. It did not get to the depth of the soil. Then you have to do extra work. So hearing is not enough. For you to get understanding of the truth, you need to do extra work. That's why I'm telling you now. You see what I'm doing with you? I am teaching you how the word and everything we are teaching you this way could become understanding for you to benefit you. Now, when you now get to a place where you begin to teach other people, teach them not just to hear you, but teach them not to be satisfied just hearing. Because I used to be a pastor. I'm still a pastor, but I used to be just do pastoring. And I used to be surprised all the time. Why is it that you listen? People come to listen to you, thousands of people. Nobody is doing it. But everybody is just waiting for the next Sunday to come and listen to the next revelation. What is this? Then I discovered that it is not enough to speak. Because as people are listening to you speak, there is a category of them that is just roadside category. Another category of them is just stony ground category. Then another category of them is persecution. They will face persecution. That's another category. They are okay, but when they face persecution, they lose it. Another part of them, they are living in the world, the cares of the world and the frivolities of the world. They will go back to the world because they don't live in the church. They only come here once a week. And from Monday to Friday, they are in the world. So the frivolities and the cares and the concerns of the world, they are much more powerful than the one Sunday that I had with them. Because that is every day. They watch TV, they listen to their friends, their relatives. All those things are fighting against the truth that I'm speaking to them on Sunday. But if I teach them to go back, to till the ground, and to keep the word inside their heart, that is why we started doing exams in our church. So because exams have forced them to go back to read because they need to give exams. Because that is the only way for you to make the word or the truth become part of yourself and to bring fruit. So the next category of people that get the word of God or the truth is the category of people where the seed falls among the thorns. When the seed falls among the thorns, those are the frivolities of life and the cares of life and all those things. That thorns are a serious matter. So, but let's look at how do you deal with that? Because people who come to you, they are going to go back to places where there are thorns everywhere. What are the thorns? Temptations, cares of life, concerns of life, worries, problems, attacks, and just worries and frivolities and lust and temptations and all those things are just the real life situation. So how do you help people to overcome that and still make the word become productive for them? Okay, so let's go back to the farmer's scenario like Jesus told us the story. So you sow the seed, you already know how to deal with the stony ground. Now, this seed has fallen among thorns. So what do we do with that? What you do is go back to that ground, pick up your seed, look at the thorns that are there, and the only thing you need to do is to make sure that you have a lot of patience. Take your cutlass, take your hoe, and with a lot of patience, uproot every thorn. Uproot every thorn. Don't cut them. If you cut a thorn and sow the seed, what will happen? It will grow back and shock that seed. So when it comes to thorns, you've got to uproot. But underneath every thorn is what? It's a soil. If you will be patient enough to cultivate and to uproot and deal with the roots of the thorns, you'll find the soil. And your seed will be able to enter the soil and will not be stolen away, and it will also grow and bring forth fruit. You see? It's all about understanding, which means, let's go back to you. How do you apply that to yourself? It means you've just listened to the teachings here. When you go back to London, the first thing you will discover is that a lot of messages were waiting for you. Those are the frivolities and the cares of life. Then a lot of phone calls will begin to come in. I tell you, they'll come. They'll come. Your friends, oh, where were you? Okay, let's go out. Tell me what has happened. Those frivolities are already attacking you right there. They're already taking you away. The next thing you remember, after you come from McDonald's and from KFC and from casino, I mean, not casino, what? Domino's. People go to Domino's? Okay. After you've gone to a few places like that, you have even, the only thing you now remember is not the word. Okay, yes, I was in Ukraine last week. You only remember that you were somewhere last week. But the word, you don't even remember the speakers, talk less of the words. What is that? That it will happen to you if you don't mind. And even if you are adult, your husband has caused you, oh, go do this, oh, your children, your friends, your church, by the time it's gone. So how do you deal with those thorns? Those are real thorns because you need to go to work, you need to work, you need to get the car, you need to get the fuel, you need to buy food products, you need to cook, they are real stuff. So how do you make the truth take root in you despite the frivolities of life? The same thing. Make sure you have patience. Take your time. Just like when you go to the soil, when you go to the farm and you needed to uproot those thorns, you do it by yourself. It's a time of solitude. It's a time of loneliness. And it's a time of hard work. So also, find some time of solitude. Find some time where nobody is there to distract you. It's a time to work on yourself. Because you work for your boss, you work for your work, you work for your family, you work for food, you work for restaurant, you work for everybody else. Find some time to work on yourself. So get all the material that you got from Kyiv. Begin to listen and stop them and write some things down. Ask yourself questions. How can I apply this? How can this help here? How can this help here? When am I going to act on this? What should I do next? What is my next step of action? Concrete steps. And then you repeat that to yourself. Okay, these are my plan. These are my action plan. Then you put your control system. I'm going to do this, and this. I'm going to do this then. I'm going to do this now. Then you move to the other one. I'm going to do this later. I'm going to do this other time. I'm going to talk over this. I'm going to research more on this. Then you move on the other. So you must have decisions taken upon everyone on each one of the things you've heard today. And when the action plans are already in place, then you move to another one. So that is how you remove the thorns. Then there is another thing you have to do to remove the thorns. You remember, you must remove the thorns from the root. Then you have to sit down and say, I have the action plans now, what I want to do with the words I've received. What are the forces distracting me most? What are my my biggest sources of distraction? What are the things that will distract me most from taking all these actions, from doing these things? If I wake up tomorrow, what are the things that will distract me most? Maybe work. Okay, I have to limit that. But since you are not working, friends, TV, fun, pleasure, all these things could distract me. So write them down, then come up with a strategy of how to overcome friends. I switch off my telephone. Let them leave their message. When they leave the message, I decide who to reply, who to call back, who not to call back. Then they want me to go out with them to McDonald's or to cinema or to some places. Well, I'm nowhere to be found. I disappear to my room. Oh, well, mom gave me some assignment to do. Or, well, my parents said I shouldn't go out today. Well, you have some excuses, but you get yourself alone to make sure that your priorities, all those decisions that you have written are your priorities. You must always do your priorities first. You must always do the things that you want to do first before you do what other people want you to do. So all those decisions you have taken, all those plans that you have made, all those action plans that you have written out, make sure that you put everything on the backside to first of all do them, to make sure that those things are done. And you must create the time, you must push everybody away from your life to just concentrate on making the action plans come to pass. That is how you live in understanding of the truth. That is how you make the truth work for you. That's how you make the truth work for you. Now what will happen is, if you will do that, the truth is established in you, in your system, you have action plans for them. So what then happens when persecutions and tribulations come? Tribulations and persecutions will be coming from outside, but the truth is already established inside. But when the truth was only outside of you, in your head or in your notebook, all the trials and tribulations, you don't have time to ever get there again. But once you have established that truth inside of you, let all persecutions come. You are already grounded and you will keep on bringing forth fruit. Same thing when frivolities and temptations and anxiety for the things of the world come, you have exactly the right answers because the word has become flesh in you. The responses will be coming automatically from you because you are already established in those truths. But the tragedy of our days is that that parable that Jesus spoke about 2,000 years ago is still as needful today as then. Even it's worse now. And the story has been spoken about, it's been spoken of 2,000 years back. But it's even much more needed, it's much more real today than then. Because today, people just hear, they just listen, but they don't take the pain to really clear the stones, the thorns, and to make the seed get to the destination and really bring forth fruit. That's why churches are full of people who cannot produce results, who don't have results. Because we just teach them and we think once we have taught them or we have spoken to them, we have done our own part. But we must also help them to get to have the culture of making the word get to take a firm ground in the heart of the people. Okay, let me show you some other ways that Jesus dealt with the question of understanding. But before I go, because you are kids, I don't just want to give you too much information. You need to respond so that you don't fall asleep on me. So I want to ask you, what did you understand from what I just told you, how to help yourself understand the truth? Because people reject the truth when they don't understand. But I've just told you how to understand the truth for yourself and how to help others understand the truth. Please come here. The microphone. Where is the microphone? And you who are watching us on Facebook, you can also write us your comments. We will be happy to read your comments here. Yes, Sydney.
What you have been saying.
Speak louder.
What I understand from what you have been saying is that when the devil comes, that when you hear the word, the devil comes to distract you midway, when you're dry, like when you're on your way to the truth, and when you're on your way to doing something about it, the devil comes to delay you and to delay you along the way. But how you can fix that is by going back and getting rid of all the rocks and planting it back into the soil and spending some time by yourself and educating yourself, like you were talking about self-education, and so that you can educate yourself more about it and spend some more time alone to learn to understand it more.
Do you really plan to do that when you get back? You plan to do that?
Yes.
What? Not just from Kiev. What about from class? From school?
Yes.
You will try to do that now?
Yes.
Very good. Now your sister is is ready for you now.
What I learned is that for you to be able to understand the truth, you need to take away every single distraction that's in your life, like watching TV, playing with your phone,
Oh.
going out with your friends. And more, so that you can be able to repeat the word that you have learnt about truth, and so that it will be able to sink into your head and you'll have a better understanding of the truth, and then that way you can be able to teach it to those who are around you.
Two sisters, Sydney and Sandy. Wonderful. Okay.
The thing I got from what you just taught is that we have the first responsibility to make sure that the truth is firmly planted in our hearts before we can give it out to anyone. And it kind of reminded me of the verse that says, by their fruits you shall know them. So it's like, unless we plant the truth in us and we can show the fruits of the truth that we've been taught and we understand, no one else will be able to benefit from what, because like you can't give what you don't have. So if we don't have the understanding for ourselves and we don't have the complete knowledge of what the truth is and a firm foundation of how to apply it into our life and how to help others, no one else will be able to gain that from us as well. So instead of blaming others for their lack of understanding, we should like turn the mirror back to ourselves and see if we fully understand it before we teach it to anyone else.
Okay, but how do you overcome the thorns and the stones? And
You have to examine your life and see what is a hindrance to you understanding the truth, such as distractions, whether it's the devil like distracting you with thoughts or different desires of the world, like the lust of the eyes, lust of the flesh, and the pride of life, or it's the people around us that are stopping us from taking in the truth fully because they either have alternative truths or they don't want to understand what we've been taught. So I think going through each major sphere of our life and pruning what doesn't need to be there for our own personal growth can help us to do that.
Beautiful. Who is next? Please come.
I learned a lot of things about how when you're about how the word that we receive, we have to understand it, and about how we should, and how about when we're communicating, it should be important that other people understand what we're saying. And I think that's very important because I want to propagate truth through writing, and that explains why it's important to have research and citations and quotations and statistics, all of that when you're trying to prove something, because because it's very crucial to have understanding, and that's why Jesus acts the way he does in the Bible. And I learned that the way that we usually live our lives, receiving truths, but just reacting passively to them or not really reacting to them, is not how Jesus told us to live, but how Satan would like us to live. Because as you were outlining all the interpretations of the seeds falling in the different places, I saw each and every instance in my life. I can just have like vivid remembrances of when I was sitting in a church or something, and I'm listening to something, and I think, wow, this is, I think like, oh, that's a very relevant topic. I hope I'll be able to learn a lot from this. And then by the end of the sermon, I'll realize that I started thinking about something else and I missed the whole thing. Or I remember that
That is by the wayside, right?
Yes, that is by the wayside. Or I'll remember...
Satan has succeeded.
Exactly. And, yeah, and anything can happen even when you think you are... for example, when I was reading the book, when we had to finish the book very quickly, what happened to me often was that I would read and then I'd read something that reminded me of something else. So then I'd just like stop reading and I'd be thinking about that and I'd get completely off track and that would stop the word from getting to its destination, and that was another thing. Another thing was that you said we should meditate upon the word that we received, and I was shocked by that because it does say in the Bible a lot that you should meditate upon the word. In Psalms 1, it says that you should meditate upon the word. Like literally the word for meditate in Hebrew means to quietly repeat to yourself. So like literally you're in a room, you're seeing something, you're reading something, and you're saying it over and over again so that it's literally becoming a part of you. But still we don't do it. I can remember another instance where mom is preaching. I'm sitting and I'm paying attention and I'm saying, wow, this is a really good message. This is a really good message. I don't remember what the message was about though. I was like, what a good message, what a good message, but I didn't come back to it at all. So now I've forgotten what it is about. So that fell on the stony surface.
That is stony ground right there.
Yeah, because I didn't go back to remove the stones. I went back to school, I went back to my Netflix and
but not to the very good message.
But not to the very good message. I thought
because you didn't go to process it.
Yeah. And also there's the things about child-mindedness, and then there's about the cares of life. And that was it's just funny because I think Jesus' parable is almost more relevant today than it was then, and especially to us. No, literally, as you were speaking, I was just remembering things like we have our class chat, for example, and then maybe every day it's like, hey, we should have a class hangout. Hey, we should have a class hangout. Hey, we should have a class hangout. And, you have these thoughts. I was like, oh, but I have this but we have HMT then, so I can't go then. But then you're thinking, okay, maybe right after the HMT or right between this. So, and like, I'm realizing that I have what should be my priorities. I have my goals and I have my truth. But
because what is class hangout? What would I give you?
Exactly. But I think that because of the pressure of going out with your friends and not being so cold and like self-centered or something, that I should put aside my priorities and put aside my truths just so that I can have some pizza with them sometimes. But that's not what we're supposed to be doing. We're not supposed to be just drifting around and getting a little bit of everything. We're supposed to have a word that that has come to our hearts and that we're focusing on and cultivating. So that thing you said about having to turn off your messages and stuff, or tell your class friends that you have an assignment to do or something. That was really resonating with me because I had kind of started doing that, but then I was having doubts because I was thinking, well, people are complaining to me that I'm not getting their messages. And I was like, but it's been so long since I went on a hangout already. But actually, if I haven't reached all my goals yet, if I haven't followed all my plans yet, then that doesn't matter because I have my priorities and I have the word that needs to get to its destination, and I shouldn't let anything choke that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yep. I have a question. Yes, please. Yes, can you
What if you find that the distraction, like you said, the distraction isn't like so much people coming, external people coming to say, let's do this, let's do that, let's go. What if it's like in your own mind, because you know how people say like you're in your head too much and like you're overthinking stuff like that. What do you do when the distraction is you? It's not external.
Huh? Yeah. Thank you. That's a very good question. I think I addressed the question of daydreaming in the beginning. Anybody remember that? Do you remember when I said to be in the here and now? You remember I spoke about that? You want to mention it? Okay. I will answer your question, but let's start with it.
You said for us to not be thinking about things that will happen or things that have already happened, that you should be focusing on what's happening now, on the focus that is now.
Wow. That is Sandy, yeah? Wow, Sandy. Sandy. Beautiful Sandy. Wonderful stuff. That is when I spoke about the first fruit. The first ground by the wayside. That Satan is more interested in that. That you should be all in yourself, all in your own world. And that's when I spoke about some things are happening here, and you might be thinking about going home tomorrow or something. Or it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that that's exactly what you could be thinking about, but it just means you are thinking about anything other than that particular truth that we're talking about. So that still belongs to the first category when the word or the truth falls by the wayside. When you are into yourself too much, it means definitely the truth is passing you by. And that is exactly what it means that the word Satan makes you to do that so that the word will not get to its destination, just by the wayside. It's like you are all there, you know what's happening, you are all inside, it's all happening, but it's not really getting to destination because you are too focused on something else. I like what you said. Not be thinking about what had happened or what's going to happen, but about thinking about what is going on right now. I'm not thinking about myself even. So I must remove myself from the picture. And the only thing I'm concentrating on is that particular truth or word that is happening right now. And then I go back and I work more on it. It is still a form of distraction, but it belongs to the first category when Satan makes people to be distracted by daydreaming or thinking of something else, why the world is just passing near them and around them, and they think I'm here, but really, not really. Thank you. Yes, sir. Can you take it to Pastor?
Thank you, sir. I just wanted to add one point with young people, especially teenagers. Your explanation about the stony ground was it really sank deep into me. And how you broke it down, that the stony ground sometimes represents your previous knowledge, that's standing in the way of you receiving a newer information or a better level of knowledge.
Yep.
And a lot of young people come to, we've all been teenagers, I remember when I was 15, I thought, I knew everything that there is to know about the world and about life works. Let's be, I think some of people here parents would probably recognize that sentiment. But it's a very simple, very easy pit to fall into when you're young. To think, I know so much now. How much else is there to know? And that can become a stony ground. That was
beautiful. Beautiful. All right. Take it.
Okay. I have.
Okay.
I'm sorry. All right. I have a question concerning multitasking, so-called multitasking, because I think that can be kind of a gray zone. Like you said, lots of people, they think that just by hearing something, they can receive it. So there's a popular practice of listening to a message or like training or something, but meanwhile you're washing the dishes, you're doing homework, or like you're doing something that should require more attention, but you're dividing it between things. And that's also a way that the word is falling by the roadside. But do you think that there are still some situations that where it would be better to divide your attention, or like where you think that, or maybe where you think that whatever the word that is being said, even if you're paying attention to it, your time would better be spent doing something else? So, like, because sometimes if, like, okay, for example, sometimes if I go on a class hangout and I decide that nothing is going on, so I'm going to not pay attention to my classmates, but I'm going to write something. Like sometimes I can do that. Or if I'm in a or if I'm in a company, for example, where they're saying things that I don't really think are worth
attention.
My attention, then I can try to like do something that is worth my attention. Or if I think that, or if for example I'm trying to refresh something, like if I've listened to a message before and I've listened to it a lot and I have some work to do, but in the background also, so that I can like kill two birds with one stone, I'd also refresh that also other message. Like, do you think that still it's better to multitask sometimes, so we should do it with wisdom? Just like if we're actually being distracted and not getting enough information from both things, then we should focus on both things. But if it actually is wiser to divide your attention, do you think there are times like that? Or do you think that 99% of the time you should be completely focused on the here and now?
Beautiful question. Beautiful. Very needful question. The only problem is that you supply the answer yourself.
Okay.
So, yes, that's what you see me and mom doing all the time. And let's start with mom. Whenever she's in the kitchen, she's always listening to something. But then, what does she do after kitchen? She goes back to the room, sits down with that same material, writing and listening. So she has either she's listening first as a general thing, then she goes back to do thorough work. Or she had listened to it and done thorough work, but then she's doing other things, but she needs to refresh herself. And she's refreshing her knowledge with what she's doing. So the most important thing really is not really as much as how you are listening now, but how much of work you do on it later on. But also, it is you should do that definitely when you have already done something, or you know you can combine right now. You can normally combine multitask when the thing you are listening to or what you are doing right now is not too essential. It's not demanding all your 100% concentration, and so you could maintain. So but there are some tasks that would demand your 100% concentration. That is when you would not want to multitask. But when you are multitasking, is when things you are doing are not so fundamentally important, needing your 100% attention. Okay. Okay, anybody wants to say anything about that? Okay, I thought I should give you some more, passages and scriptures and things like that, but it's not necessary. I think you put God a message. That one passage from Jesus' parable is enough to communicate understanding. Now, the only thing I would like to do before we go is to ask the adult about what they got, what you all got as adults from this particular class. Any one of the adults want to say anything? Or you want me to all make you stand? Everyone present, any one of you could talk. No, you are not here. You just came in. So you want to deliver them. But I want people who are here to talk. Yes, please.
Okay.
As a parent, I'm very pleased with the message the teaching that was taught tonight, because I believe it has clarified so many things, especially the one truth that I think as all parents, we are always trying to get across to our children at home. I know with my children, when you are sharing the word or you are trying to have a discussion or a conversation with them, you will see that they start fiddling with their fingers or they start losing attention because they are just tired of sitting there and listening to what you're saying. But I believe that with what they heard tonight, knowing the importance and knowing that all those things that they were seeing as maybe mom or dad just talking too much is actually relevant to whatever the situation or what the case might be, and that now they will appreciate it and know that them not paying attention and finding things to distract them is just Satan, distracting the truth that is supposed to be heard when they are addressed at the time. And I love the fact that you spoke about them knowing how to prioritize their day or their week, and knowing that it's important for them to, first of all, do their homework or self-education or whatever the case might be for each individual. But I would also just like to clarify, especially with the priorities, because I know that for me personally, my girls will definitely use this one against me. Priorities should also, how home chores are also a priority. So please don't neglect that or think that because Pastor Sunday said I have to read or I have to do this, it's my time, that home chores are not a priority. They're still a priority at home. Please.
Yes, home chores might not be number one priority, but they are
Yes.
priority, part of the priority, but not number one priority. Number one priority is self-development, right? They got that one from the morning. But I wanted the adults to speak. Maybe another adult wants to speak.
Yeah, I just have a kind of. I just have a question, because I think that lots of us are going to be returning to school. Lots of us are going to be returning to school or going to university this fall. And there's the question of meditating on the word we have received. And that doesn't only apply to spiritual word, I don't think. Anything we learn in school, if we actually want it to stay with us, I realized that we have to go and meditate on it. And that's a revelation, because this summer I was trying to study math so that I can be ready for it and be above my level. And I saw that lots of the things that I had learned during the school year, I had already begun to forget them. So I had to refresh that, and then I had to learn the math above. So then I was thinking,
same principle.
Yeah. When you were studying, after, for example, math class, after you did the homework, because they do homework, and that's a time for you to meditate on it. But after you do the test, there's new information. Then there's another test. There's new information. They cram all that information in you. Then you put it out on the exam, and then after that, you just want to forget about it. And I think that after vacation or whatever, you end up forgetting about it anyway, even though you did homework. If you work on something intensely at one period, if you don't do it for a long period, you'll forget it anyway. So, what advice do you have for things like that?
That is natural, but the most important thing is that you make it sink at that particular stage, because that is talking about stages of education and studies. So that particular stage while you are studying there, make sure that you did what you needed to do. Make sure that you make it sink. Then move on to the next stage. But the most important thing is that it's sunk already. Because at the necessary time, at the needed time, those are the things that form your core of who you are. Because they have gone to your subconscious level. So when life demands it, you will see that they begin to prop up. Or at least you know what it's talking about. Or we have to go back and get it.
Okay, thank you.
I've been here from the beginning. I don't know why you didn't see me. Yeah.
Are you here from the beginning? I saw you coming in.
But that was a minute before you started.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
What I got is uprooting the thorns. Hello, everyone. Nikki Ojimadi here. Uprooting the thorns, because we usually cure the symptoms, yeah? But uprooting the thorns and the statement that you made that below the thorn is soil. So that means if we take time and diligence and patience to uproot the thorn, then we are now exposed to the soil that we can plant now the right seed to grow and, to fertilize us or whatever to make us mature. So
same with the stones.
Same with the stones, yeah. And I must confess I'm one of those that multitask when I listen to messages. Because even if I don't do anything here, I don't get it immediately. So I combine doing things, and it's now left for me to go back, like you said, and listen again to make the message flesh. So that's a task for me. To be more deep in what I learned, to make it flesh, I have to go back again and again and sit down, like you told me the other day, and write and make sure that I get
the same principle.
Yes.
Okay.
I've learned that being present doesn't mean that you're present to what you need to do or what you're, being the here and now.
Being present doesn't mean to be in the here and now.
Yes, it doesn't mean that you're present. But to top it off, because it's in this series of truth, I've just come to realize that it means also that I'm not being true. I'm not being true to myself. So I'm deceptive if I am present, but I'm not present here and now to what is happening. So that's really shocking to me, and it really makes it really bad because it's a habit that I have lived with all my life, but because I get by one way or the other, not in the best way that I want to, but in some ways I'm living with it, but realizing that I am being...
you get by in your own estimation.
Of course.
Maybe not necessarily
not to you.
my...
yeah.
Because that camera today was still shaking.
Yeah, but... the story there is that I want to get to the 2% of the world population that are exceptionally good. And if I want to do that, I have to be true to myself. So I know what Dr. Sunday is saying, even if you guys don't know, because I'm in the 98% of the biomasses, and I want to try and get to the 2%. But it's really heartbreaking for me because this is something that I've done all my life, and I'm really, really trying my best. Well, not trying my best, actually. I really want to make a difference. But the other thing that I really learned today that is really important for me is that when the seeds fall on a stony ground, my opinion is that if it falls on a stony ground, it means
that's his problem.
That's the... No, not that.
I thought you were going to say that's his own problem. Let him fall anywhere he wants.
No. It's not its own problem.
Okay.
No, it's my problem. It's my problem, but it's almost like, another one bites the dust. But the attitude that I'm taking away from this session today is that even when it falls on the stony ground, it is my duty to still dig on that stony ground. The difference with it falling on the solid soil and on the soil that would germinate is that soil, if it's on the soil, it would germinate, it would be easier to germinate. But because I've allowed it to go on a stony ground, I need to now dig the ground and do extra work. So where I'm thinking it's absolute, when it falls on a stony ground, there's nothing I can do. I've now gained the knowledge, the power to now, okay, unfortunately it's fallen on the stony ground, but I still can't just leave it like that. This seed cannot just go to waste. I need to now, get on my knees and start to dig until I get soil from that stony ground. So this is really important for me, and I didn't really see it that way until this teaching. And
So what is your? How do you convert that to real life situation?
It's actually maybe with a lot of things in my life that maybe I have neglected because I felt like it's on a stony ground, not being truthful in terms of not being here and now. Go back to all the things, like the list of things that you've asked the young people to do, including myself, in terms of priority. So the things that have set before as goals, but they have not even been achieved or even been started yet, that for me is probably a stony ground because I didn't prepare, I didn't do the things that I'm supposed to do.
Due diligence.
My due diligence, and I just neglected them and just left them and said, okay, let me move on to the next. But now all those things are also important. Actually, the more important that I complete them, I get them done. So go back, do what I'm supposed to have done before, and make sure that I put a plan in place and follow those plans.
So you mean you want to, you might as well resume your live broadcast on Who Am I?
Yeah.
Because that thing was started half a year ago.
Yes.
And you did about 2 or 3 programs.
That's
And then the stony ground showed itself up. And the thorns took over.
so that's one of the... and
That's just one.
Yeah, that's just one that you know about. And then there are other things in terms of the priorities. Yeah, maybe I don't have the friend distraction and the phone distraction and all the other distraction, but
maybe it's like what Jeanette said.
Yes.
The internet distractions.
Yes. I am my own. Yes, I am that. I'm my own distraction. And I'm on the same.
Same page.
Yes, of that distraction. Phone I don't even have. It's not working. Other things I don't have, but I distract myself. I'm the one that is not focused. So I'm always drifting and, there's something here, there's something else here. I'm playing around and just messing about. So I really need to really work on that. And yes, I know Dr. Sunday and everyone is laughing, but that Who Am I is really a big thing for me that I could really pick up and do well, but neglected it, and there's no reasons why I should. So yeah, that's my lessons. Thank you.
Also, from this lesson, I think that this is the best application of the parable of the sower that I've ever heard, because it makes a lot more sense why Jesus told that parable. Because what I was taught all of these times was that, okay, so Jesus told the parable about how there's the truth, and you tell it, and there's different types of hearts. So most people don't accept it because lots of different things happen, but some people will accept it and listen, and you should be that type of person. And that's it. And that's just like, but,
What about if I fall in the second or the third?
Yeah, but they don't tell you that. It's just like as if Jesus is saying that, when Jesus is saying that lots of people won't accept me, right? I don't think he would just say that because I don't think he wants that, right?
It's not a predestination thing, right?
Yeah. He wants everybody to come and accept the truth. That's Jesus' mission. So what would be the point of Jesus just saying, okay, so I have the truth, but some of you aren't going to accept it? I think the reason that he told us the types of people that don't accept this truth is so that we don't do that. But what I kind of was seeing it as was that there's some people that are just like made that way. Like some people, they just won't accept the truth because it fell on the stony path. No exceptions. And then some people,
They are condemned, so to say.
yeah. And some people, they're like, something happened to them, so they won't accept the truth. And some people are just lucky enough to be open. But that's not how it works, because each of us in life will have...
It's like it's not fair, right?
Yeah. Each of us in life, no, even if a person is open, like, I don't think that I think as the more we grow, the more knowledge we accumulate, the more space in our soil is being taken up. So I think we'll all have to deal with getting the stones out of our hearts sometimes. But even with a soil, like most soils, they aren't going to be inherently good. When something good is growing, somebody has had to plow that soil and take all the stones out of it already. So the soil that was good, maybe it was the heart of somebody who had already worked on themselves. But even if it was like by accident or something, I still think that I still think that Jesus is saying that we should watch out. We should watch out so that even if our heart is open to Jesus' truth right now, we should guard ourselves to see that we shouldn't let any thorns spring up and choke what is growing already, and that we shouldn't let any, rocks
bird of the air.
Yeah, birds of the air come and, eat what is beginning to grow already, or rocks come and start to take up space in the soil, even if the seed has already started growing there already. So even though the parable of the sower was so deep that Jesus wanted people to understand it, he even because some parables he told and interpreted and that was it. But this one he said understand 2 times. He wanted us to understand. Even the word here, like maybe you guys have heard it. I learned this at school, but in Hebrew, the word here, Shema, is not just to let sound waves pass through your ears. It means to hear and respond. It means to hear and apply. So that's why Jesus really wanted us to understand. And with the parable of the sower, I think that God wanted us to do more than just know all the categories of the people, but to understand this and to be careful, to watch out. So I'm really glad for this application of the parable of the sower.
So I have a question. What about if you know it and when someone asks you...
You might need to stand here.
Okay.
So
what about if you know what to do, and if someone was to ask you, like maybe a few months down the line after you've seen it or you heard it, you repeat it back to them, but then you don't apply it? What is that class as?
Well, that means the information or the seed is still on the stony ground. So it's on the surface. Anytime the thing is on the surface, when it's not applied, it means it's on the surface. Even though it's in your head, you could still repeat it back to them, but it didn't become flesh in you. The ground is not open to receive it deep into the soil, because it's only when it goes into the soil that it will bring forth fruits. So when it's still in your head, even if you still remember it 100 years later, it will still not bring fruit. Because the purpose of understanding, like Paul said, is to bring fruit, is to bring response, to bring an answer. So understanding, the whole reason why we are talking about understanding is that it goes in and capable of bringing forth fruit. Okay. So if it's in your head, that's still called surface. That's, like I said, shallow. It's the floor, the thing is shallow. It's not grounded. It's a surface kind of thing. It's like still a form of stone. Okay. Thank you.
So I want to say that I'm 25 years right now, and I so wish I would have heard that 10 years ago.
I wish I was 25 myself.
Yeah. I just wish I would have heard that 10 years ago.
I can't even remember when I was 25.
Yeah. That's how fast time flies. And that's what I realized. I realized that you're also privileged to hear that at this age of yours, because I'm thinking back to the time where I was 15, and I had this privilege of actually reading one of Dr. Sunday's books, which is called Time is Life.
What age?
I think I was 15, 16. And I was thinking, because the task that was given to us was to read the book as quickly as possible so that we can learn to be effective. And I was thinking, I had a few books that were given to me. All of them were from Dr. Sunday. And even though it wasn't really made clear to me the value of what we were doing, I was thinking, what is the smallest, like the thinnest book that I can use so that I can just finish the task really quickly? And I did. I finished. I was happy with myself, and I thought, I completed the task. And now I'm catching up with what I actually did not read, because I was being shallow-minded. I was just adding the head knowledge just so I was able to respond to the questions that were going to be asked afterwards, but I didn't make sure to really meditate on that message, meditate on the information that I got. And all I'm thinking now is that I'm catching up.
You've got to do it again.
Have to do it again. Something I had before, 10 years ago. So that's all I'm thinking about. I'm just thinking about all the time that I've wasted, because I was thinking that I lived the life, and I was going out with my friends, I was traveling around, I was having dinners here and there, I was buying clothes, I could also afford it. I mean, I worked for it. It's not like someone came and gave me the money or something and I didn't do anything for it, but I worked for it, but still I wasted what I worked for. And that is just very heartbreaking. It's just heartbreaking. And I really hope that all of you are going to take that into consideration, and that you're going to go home and meditate on this, and not just take it as one camp meeting that you had throughout your teenage years, because you are going to go back to it. You're going to remember this one day. So.
Anybody still interested in speaking? Okay.
Well, a lot of you are going home tomorrow. So I just want to say that after this HMT and after this message especially, we should probably seriously take initiative to put what we've learned into practice. And I'm just saying this because I've been on a youth HMT before, and I got lots of green dots, and I remember some of the things I did, but I forgot most of the things I did. So I think that we should just think of we should even start thinking, before we even start thinking about what we learned, because we started learning a lot, and I think we should just put aside some time to just sit down in a quiet place, and go through all of that. But before we even do that, let's just start thinking about how we can apply what we've learned here more. Like after I did my presentation, for example, some people were coming to me and saying, I wish you'd teach this to people. You should go and teach this in your school. You should go and do this and stuff. And well, maybe I will do that. But for example, the book, I think if we're not, the book Life is an Opportunity is the first book we read, and How to Create Your Own Net Worth is what we're reading now at the HMT. I'm just talking because we're finishing the HMT. I think we should go, especially if we've bought the book, I think we should go back to it and do all the practical tests and examinations again. And maybe you should do a book review of it. Maybe it will just be for yourself, like a book report that we do in school sometimes, but just that you can refresh everything you've gone through until you don't forget it because you had to read it so quickly. Maybe you should do a book report or something, or maybe you should challenge yourself to convince a friend to read it, or maybe if you
do TV,
yeah. But if you're more confident, then I think you should try to do a live broadcast or something. And since some of you are young, and because making videos might be a little bit stressful, I think if your parents were here and if they bought the book for you, then you guys could all do that together, or you guys could just have a discussion about the book, or you guys could just have the tradition of reading more books of Dr. Sunday Adelaja, or any Christian books, or any self-help books, and having discussions about them, or writing reports about them, or making videos about them. I think making videos is good because it will force you to put out it will force you to do a good job, and more people might be able to be reached by it. But I don't know what is more comfortable for you, because it's more important for the word to be rooted in you first before you send it out. But I'm just saying that everything that we've learned here, let's try to apply it. What what Pastor Bose taught about, that we should see ourselves in the future and write out all of our goals. I think we should definitely do that. Like for me, for example, I don't want to think about university because it seems hard. But I am going to do it, and I'm going to write out exactly what I want to do, and I want to become more and more specific with my goals, how much I want to earn, when I want to achieve this, what influence I want to have, and I just encourage you to do these things. Whatever will help you to remember and to meditate upon these things. Like maybe you'll take little part at a time. Maybe you'll just take some principles that Pastor Sunday outlined, or that Pastor Chris outlined, or that any of our teachers outlined, and you'll write them out and paste them around your room. So put them up around your room, so that every day you'll encounter them, and every day you'll be forced to think about them. Anything that causes you to come back to it over and over again, you don't have to go through it immediately, because even if you focus on it for a short time, you'll forget it. But just so that we can start thinking of how we can seriously apply this, because like Julie said, we are having this amazing opportunity right now, and it would be a big tragedy to waste it. So thank you for listening.
Brilliant. Well said. Okay, girls and boys, it's like I've heard you long enough. Tomorrow I'm going to have a long day with you, I guess. It's going to be a long day with you tomorrow. I don't know if what I did in the morning is going to be uploaded yet tonight. Are you going to upload the YouTube, the morning session? Who am I and why am I here? The morning session is already uploaded. Because Zoe and Pro, you are not there in the morning, so you will need to catch up with those.
And the first one too, that we missed out.
Okay. Before tomorrow, so that you are able to catch up and know what we're talking about. So, thank you, girls and boys. Go get your night's rest, and I will see you tomorrow morning.
Okay, please be seated. Okay, so guys, please pay attention. I have announcements. Yeah. I don't want you guys tomorrow to tell me that I didn't hear your announcement.